What is up, Generals? We're back with Ultimate General Civil War. And this is the J&P Rebalance Legendary Mod, or J&P Rebalance Mod, Legendary Difficulty, Confederate Let's Play. And we're taking a look at the news after the Battle of Shiloh, and then we're going to take a look at the camp after that same battle before we head into the next couple of battles for the campaign. So, these letters here are captured roughly a week-ish after the battle itself. In this time frame nationwide, the country has been shocked from photographs from the battlefield and a truly staggering casualty figure. So I went and I looked in the numbers, and we suffered a combined total of 80,402 casualties across both sides. That doesn't include captured units, which adds another 1,000, give or take. And for reference, the historical battle had casualties just below 24,000. So I mean, we quadrupled that. Now, in the historical event, it looks as if a little under 20% of those were killed, the remainder wounded. So ish. Those are very loose off the top of my head calculations. So if that be the case, we've suffered, what did I just say, 80,000? Yeah, 80,000, so that's still 15 to 18,000 dead. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty terrible day for the nation. So newspapers all over the country, are just shocked about the battle, and I think people are starting to realize that this war might not be over by Christmas. So they say that 37,000 recruits are coming to the army, but the issue that I have, and this is completely outside of the scope of Johnny to do anything about or whatever, but Shiloh was fought somewhere here-ish, by the Army of the Tennessee and a little bit the Army of the Ohio, and because the Union loved to name its armies after rivers, because, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I can't go back and be like, yes, this is stupid, but what do you do if you're not fighting near the river? I mean, I don't whatever. Anyway, so the forces that were arrayed against us at Shiloh, whatever casualties they've suffered or whatever reinforcements they've received, are going to be largely, unimportant at Gaines Mill, because that's going to be the Army of the Potomac. That's going to be the Army of Northern Virginia, and it's two completely different commands. Basically, it's an entirely different theater of the war. So inexplicably, despite the casualties suffered in and around the central U.S., although at this point in time this was considered to be the Western theater, the Army adds 37,000 soldiers to its ranks and evidently decides to launch an offensive in the East. Winfield Scott, early on in the war, initially realized that it was not going to be won quickly. And one of the people, he initially kind of proposed this Anaconda plan, and it was perceived as being kind of rash at this juncture to go down that particular path, although that is, in a fashion, more or less what ended up happening. So, though old, especially given that he was, on the elder side, even in the Spanish-American War, or Mexican-American War, Scott mostly right, it seems. McClellan, while all of the adventures were happening in and around Shiloh, McClellan was whipping the Army of the Potomac into fantastic shape. And he receives a lot of negative press for his composure during what will become the Peninsula Campaign, for being timid and not trusting his recon and thinking the Confederate Army far larger than it actually is, and frankly, far larger than logic would dictate that it possibly could be. Everybody knew the economic figures about the South, and they would almost certainly have been aware of the kind of numbers that would have been able to be supported by that economy. Clearly, they didn't have the kind of economic models and everything that we have now, or the calculation ability that we have now. But broad strokes, people generally understood how much of a population you could afford to put under arms. And anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that he should not have been as timid as he was, but I think it's probably unfair the level of negative press he gets. So this is one of the moments where the game goes wildly off history, where we won at Shiloh, and that should really have been a huge setback for the Union cause. But I mean, here they are launching into the 7 days campaign like nothing's wrong. So it is kind of what it is. That's sort of what you just sort of buy when you get the game. You understand that no matter what you do, you're still going to follow the broad course of the war. So Fiasco's command has not been idle so we're fighting this in the late May. It's not been idle in the intervening 2 months. Many of the units have not received reinforcements as Fiasco realized that there's going to be a campaign that he's going to have to launch leading up to his response or his joining the Army of Northern Virginia in defense of the area around Richmond. And as a result, whatever new reinforcements that he's received have been funneled almost exclusively into his 1st and 2nd Division. So Bernard B. and E. Smith, whatever E stands for, are currently my division commanders, at least for the purposes of the skirmishes leading up to Shiloh. And we have 1st and 3rd Rifles now, our elite units. We're going to go ahead and do that. I had to do this dumb shit where I get to play games with, so that way my elite units can be on the, there. Elite units can be in the 1st slot in the division. I don't know. It's a dumb thing, but it's what I like to do. So, General Fiasco assembles a task force for some of these smaller skirmishes, and also, at least administratively, begins to assemble a 2nd Corps under his command, realizing that the command and control abilities of his army, and specifically his logistics arm, were stretched to the max, supporting a battle as large as Shiloh, which, if I'm not mistaken, was also the largest battle on the continental U.S. up until that point in time. And so, as a result, he's decided to expand the scope of the army, and that's a good thing because we're going to need to fill out these 2 divisions for Shiloh, or not, for Gaines Mill. 1st and 2nd Division are composed predominantly of infantry brigades at 1,300. That is the size I'm shooting for 1-star brigades for the time being, and then 2-star is going to be kind of whatever I can afford. I have a broad objective given the casualties suffered at Shiloh, it becomes apparent to Fiasco we're probably going to need to push the size of the brigades up. So the new target is 1,500 for a 1-star brigade. I don't expect to get there before Malvern Hill is over. So probably 13 for the time being, and then 15 by Second Bull Run is the likely objective. Points were put predominantly in econ and logistics. Equipping my army was really proving to be quite problematic. So the priority because the logistics score doesn't really do me any good in the armory screen now. Because the logistics score doesn't do me any good between now and Gaines Mill, we're probably looking at putting 2 points into recon, because I like to get to recon 4, and then 1 point into econ probably is where I want to get. AO6 is good for the time being. It's probably going to be good for a while. 4 divisions and 6 brigades gives me 24 slots per corps, and I don't believe that you have the option or opportunity to go larger than that before Second Bull Run anyway. So AO6 can hang out for a minute. I'd like to get logistics to 4, recon to 4, and then I think that's what we'll do before Gaines Mill, and then we'll go from there. So the other thing is I've done a couple of test rounds of it's got slightly better stats. It really does not matter. Okay. Done a couple of test rounds in the battle at First Winchester, and I'm going to keep fiddling with it. But for the time being, I think that the tactics and tricks that I knew in vanilla or even the UI mod seem to not really work in the same way. The skirmishers around Winchester are lethal. They are very tough. And I think instead of trying to counter-sniper them, which is going to be a battle I'm going to lose, we're going to go and we're going to just beat them over the head with clubs. So we take a look at the rifles that I've got access to. This 55 is not great in melee, but it's got a good rate of fire, which is nice to know. Yeah, I'm just really not terribly impressed with this weapon. So that's, fun. 55's for you, 41's for you. Let's go ahead and get some extra numbers. It doesn't really cost me a whole shitload in terms of stats. And, part of the issue there is we got reamed so hard that I didn't really decide. I didn't think that it was even worth it to bother with the usual $5,000 of veterans per brigade. It's just suck it up, take your lickings at Shiloh, and just move on and try and keep the campaign rolling. So, I mean, it's just a gigantic setback for Fiasco's Legion, and there's nothing really to be said about it beyond that. So, the broader strokes of the war, the Union and the Confederacy from Richmond and Washington, and slowly trickling out to places like Chicago and Cincinnati and everything else on down. People are shocked at the cost and blood of preserving the Union, and already people are beginning to ask, is this really worth the expense? That kind of a butcher's bill would accelerate for sure the Confederacy's broader strategy of victory on the political front. Although, I mean, I don't know if armies are as large as they are here. I mean, they dwarfed their size in this game dwarfed the actual forces on the battlefield, which were already pretty big. So who knows? I don't know. If we keep on inflicting casualties like this, the Union hopefully will throw in the towel. Obviously, we both know they won't. From a gameplay perspective, I've got two big objectives. One, I want to keep this number from getting too out of control, because it's huge compared to my my force. There's 10 times or 5 times as many soldiers as I do. So at Winchester, we won't face that many, obviously, but so I'll be able to bring 10 corps. I'm going to be outnumbered by about 4,000, which is not the end of the world, and or I'll be outnumbered by a different number than that. Let me see if I can't actually, I can't justify creating a third division just yet, but let's get some of the crap I know I'm not going to bring into the battle and see if we can't. I think that should be about it. Yep. Okay. That's fine. 82 men that we're not bringing and 8 guns. We're going to build up first Grenzer before we go, so it's going to, whatever. Oh, sweet. So taking some of those men out of the core actually dropped the scaling a little bit. That's interesting. Good to know. Okay, so we're outnumbered by about 4,000, which is not terrible, and then we're outnumbered by about 12 guns, which is also not the end of the world. I think it was more than 12. It was more like 14, but I'm kind of eyeballing this stuff. So, I don't have enough guns. I can't afford to buy new ones for you. I don't want to buy new MJs. The 2 2-star units both get Enfields that are the best guns I've got access to right now. As do apparently 2nd Infantry. I didn't realize I had that many. So this is actually a pretty well equipped combat force, and the thought process there is that I want these victories to be kind of as clean as possible, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I wish I could hold this down. Nope, can't do it. And the extra 660 on the end there is going to drive you bonkers. The reason that I had not... Let's just go to 30. That should be fine. The reason that I had not... that I'd filled that all the way up is that if, for some crazy reason, I felt as if I could handle going to the second day, you pay. You pay to refill your supply wagon, and I didn't want to do that. I want to preserve every dollar I've got, and I was perfectly content going into that battle with no ammo if it meant that it would, preserve what I was looking to do. All right, so everyone's good there. They're fine. Let's go ahead and get the Grenzers up to fighting strength. What do we think is good for a Grenzer unit? 550 sounds good. All rookies. The stats barely move. I mean, barely, right? So why not? Yep, boom. So the influx of recruits I've currently received have all been put into these units. 50,000. Is that even going to buy me anything worth anything? Yeah, sure. That's worth $3,000 in my mind. Okay. What's this going to cost me? Again, it's not terrible. 5,000 adds up. It's here that I just can't really afford to do it because I can't do it. I can't justify that kind of expense. What's that going to cost me? Yeah, the veterans here are just killer to get these guys up to strength. So what I've really got to do is I've got to... Yeah, that's just too much. Too much for 300 men. What I've got to do with these units is I've got to protect them, but I've also got to get them experience so that they can start, getting battlefield time, and I can start adding recruits and that kind of thing. So the majority of the fighting evidently is going to be being handled by 8th, 2nd, 4th, 7th, and 6th in these battles, or in this battle anyway. You get a different force mix for cross keys and whatever else. Yeah, $3,000 for that's not the end of the world. That's fine. In fact, I could probably buy out that whole stock before this is over. I almost certainly will, come to think of it. And we don't get any good muskets. The 10-pound parrots are intriguing, but a general is actually pretty attractive too. Daniel Hill. Yeah, so the Grenzer units were the big winners, the big surprise shock winner for me. What's it cost? What is the cost? 39,000 to take them from that. What about over here? Ooh, okay. So that drops a lot. 16,000 from the sticker shock. Not quite, but nearly enough. No, I don't like that gun. Don't want to use it. I'm hesitant to buy 41s. I just don't want to do that either. I certainly don't want to buy Harper's Ferry. Any of the imports, I just can't. Yeah, the expense is beyond what I can justify. The Harper's Ferry is actually an excellent musket, and yeah, sure, I'm doing it. Let's go all the way to 14. So we'll get a couple of these units at regulation strength, which almost certainly is going to push up scaling. So it was like 13 some. And it's going to be over 14 now, right? Yeah, 14, 20, whatever. I'm not that worried about it. That was worth it in my mind. Yeah, okay, so I don't want to buy more 41s. I like 41s. I want to capture 41s. I really do like this musket quite a bit. It's a good, accurate musket, and it's good enough for line troops. The Harper's Ferry is a damn good weapon as well. Good accuracy stats, good damage stats, good fire rate. Like, it's a damn good rifle. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Enfield's good. I question whether or not it's good enough to justify its cost against the Harper's Ferry, but it's what I could get from the pull down. So that's why I got what I got. Yeah. So I'm bringing the 3-inchers and I'm bringing the James gun unit. Do I lose a lot of stats? That's actually probably okay. Yeah, fuck it. So I'm bringing the 3-inchers and I'm bringing the James gun unit. So the James gun is sort of my general all-purpose infantry gun, and the 3-inchers are, I should have put those down there to standardize myself at 10, but okay, it's whatever. The 3-inchers are going to be kind of my general purpose longer range gun. So the James has a range of 1350, and this is like 12 something. Yeah, 1250. So these two guns have a good amount of range, good amount of reach, and I'm prioritizing reach here, especially because the James actually has an okay canister, 84, whereas the canister here is not really anything to write home about. You would think I'd want to bring the newly reconstituted howitzer unit. And I'm debating it, but this is an offensive battle, and so in my mind, I think the reach is probably more powerful or more useful. By comparison, not cross keys. Cross keys maybe, but Port Republic as well. The howitzer is going to get a lot more play. The howitzer here, you can post up, counter the initial force that comes in, and then cross here, and you're going to be able to sort of divide and conquer. In that regard, you bring a few more guns, and one of them is going to certainly be the howitzer unit. And then Cross Keys is one that I'm really uncertain of. So in the vanilla game or the UI mod, the advice is to hang out on this side of the river and make the AI come to you, and that does usually work out really well. I have a suspicion that that will not work as well in this battle. I've also played it in the past where I've run my entire army to occupy this position, and I think that that's begging to be. It's begging to be out of position and not set up properly when they come, because they're going to march in here and they're going to have a couple of good places to like hide, and then they're going to charge and make contact. So I have a suspicion that all of these are going to require some test runs before I put a video about them, which is kind of why I'm doing a camp video. So this is what I've got coming ahead of me, and then I'm fairly confident that my plan for Gaines Mill should more or less translate to Legendary. Again, because it's an offensive battle, essentially, I just don't fuck with any of this. The entire army repositions over here and then pushes across open ground, or when the map opens up completely. The troops that'll be under Johnston in the right corps, or flank right, will come down here and attack through the woods. And these are going to be almost all rookies with percussion muskets. So the frontal attack will be the veterans, if I have any, and the guys with rifles and all that kind of shit. And then Johnson's corps will be rookies with nothing, basically. Pikes and that kind of shit. Speaking of which, general attributes. So Fiasco is close to picking up his second star, but he's not quite there yet. And he's got the accuracy perk. So this is any battle where I'm going to be doing defensive stuff. Johnston, by comparison, has the speed perk. So you'd say, oh, but Joe, you just said Winchester's an offensive battle. Why aren't you bringing Johnson in that battle? And the answer is that I want Fiasco to have Major General by words. I want him to have Major General by Gaines Mill. So that is the army as it stands. We have two rifle units that are. They're probably never going to see a third star. I'm going to be honest with you. I do not personally prioritize getting my units to 3 stars really all that much. If they get there, great. I have seen 3-star units perform in this mod, and they are lethal, but it's not a priority. My priority is maintaining an equilibrium of units hanging out in and around the 2-star range. I feel like 2-star units perform just great, and they're affordable to operate. So we'll just go from there. As you can see, however, we're low on cash. We're doing good on men. That's not a problem. And I don't think 75,000 would really be enough to make a difference with as expensive as guns are and everything else. So I'm going to be reliant on the money coming in from the next couple of battles, and then obviously battlefield captures. With that being said, and without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and call it here, and I will see you cats at first Winchester. But until then, this is Fiasco saying I hope you're having a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you later. Signing out.